So then I'll move on. Good morning, everyone. So here I'll talk about the Higgs boson properties, basically from the standard model Higgs properties and also the kappa lambda, the Higgs self-coupling, which we can measure from the Higgs boson pair production. So there were studies done as part of the CERN LO report. So the projections are from the LO report. So yeah, before I move on, let me thank the organizers for inviting me to give this talk at this workshop. Yeah, so before I move on, move on and discuss about the properties and the projections at HLLHC. So let me just give you a brief update because this is the first experimental talk today morning. So I'll talk about the high luminosity LHC upgrade and briefly mention about what are the upgrades which will happen for the detectors, and then what physics opportunities we can expect at HLLHC, and then I'll cover the Higgs properties and measurement and also the Higgs pair production prospects at HLLHC and HELHC. One more thing before I start, all the projection results are available in this LO report from the HELHC working group 2. So this is like a 364 pages. So in a 30-minute talk, I'll not be able to do justice to cover all the analysis and nitty-gritty details. So I try to give only an overview on the overview and also certain things which were looked at for the first time in this LO report. So I try to cover only those aspects. And if you're interested to look into more details, you can click on this link and look into the 364 pages and check which one suits your needs. Yeah. So a brief description about the high luminosity LHC upgrade. So we are here in 2021. Of course, 2021 is almost nearing to end. So we'll take the data taking in 2022. So because of COVID, we were supposed to start here, but okay, we will be, LHC will be restarting in 2022. So this HLLHC, what I'm covering is basically over this period. So the talk will cover the projections for this. Of course, some recap of what we have achieved in this is a run 2 period. So what we have achieved in run 2 will be covered, and then run 2 over here. So what we have achieved in run 2 will be covered just for the comparison that we got some measurements here, but what we can expect from the high luminosity which we expect in this HLLHC. So this high luminosity LHC is an approved project, and it represents the ultimate evolution of this LHC machine performance. And the expected instantaneous luminosity is 7.5 10 power 34 hertz per centimeter square. And for comparison, at run 2, we have reached 2 into 10 power 34 hertz per centimeter square. And the integrated luminosity expected to be collected is 3000 femtobarn inverse in HLLHC, so in this region. So far, in run 2, we have only 150 inverse femtobarn. So later we plan to cover 300 inverse femtobarn, and HLLHC will go by a factor of 20. And a brief overview of the upgrade of the detector. So in order to cope up with the upgrade of the LHC machine itself, accelerator. So both the detectors, CMS and Atlas, are going through the upgrades. CMS upgrade includes the tracker is next to the beam pipe. So we'll have extended inner tracker up to mod eta less than 4, and we have improved muon system coverage, and also we have this MIP timing layer in barrel and end cap. So apart from that, since there will be a heavy radiation damage in the end cap, so we have a high granularity end cap. For the first time, we'll be using silicon in the end cap calorimeter, and the DAC and trigger system at level 1 and HLT. So we will collect at 7.5 kilohertz. And similar to CMS, Atlas upgrades also include the similar things like the extended tracker upgrade up to mod eta 4, and also they are upgrading the electronics for their calorimeter system, a liquid organ as well as tile calorimeters, and the muon system. And they are including the new muon chamber in the inner valid region. And they are also adding this high granularity timing detector in the end cap. And the DAC and trigger systems will also get upgraded, and they collect the data at 10 kilohertz. Okay, so coming to the challenges and opportunities which HLLHC puts in front of us is HLLHC, as I told, it's a approved project, and like significant progress has been made in its preparations. There's like a vast increase in the statistical reach, because like a majority of the time we say, okay, we need more statistics to cover these. So like HLLHC gives us enough statistics to cover the phase space, which was not possible to cover in the low luminosity region, basically in run 2. Yeah, so as told, it's a 3 attoband integrated luminosity HLLHC will provide, and will have up to 200 pp interactions per bunch crossing, unlike what we have seen in run 2. So maximum what we expected was around 50 per bunch pp interactions per bunch crossing approximately. And high luminosity also implies we have to we have challenges to face experimentally. So we have to design the triggers in a clever way, and also since it's a 200 pp interaction, so we have to properly reconstruct all the particles in the final state, like what we use to go back and reconstruct the interesting physics. And also we need to improve the performance also, because it's a heavy pile-up situation at HLLHC. So these are the challenges which we have to cover, face, and then of course a lot of work is already in progress in order to improvise on these things. And since it gives a 3 attoband inverse of data, so the large data sample has benefits of will have lower statistical uncertainties and also lower experimental systematic uncertainties, because we'll have a huge data set to perform the calibrations. And also when we do the background estimation in a data-driven way, so that gives us a lower uncertainties on the background prediction, because we have high statistics control samples to model our backgrounds. So yeah, so in order to exploit the potential of this HLLHC, and upgraded detector, and also this huge data sample. So there was a year-long workshop which was held from 2017 to 2018. So it consisted of theorists, experimentalists from ATLAS, LHCMS, LHCb, to basically assess the reach and identify new opportunities which HLLHC provides, and also explore the new directions. So also this year-long workshop provided input for the European strategy of particle physics, both for HLLHC and HELHC. And a brief, HELHC is not an approved project, but HELHC is basically a 27 TeV-PP collider, providing 15, basically a factor of 5 compared to what HELHC provides. 15 attoband inverse of data. Of course, we have similar experimental challenges to face even for HELHC. So that's kind of a brief overview of what we expect from the accelerator, and also the detector updates, and also the physics prospects. So let me change the gear and talk about the Higgs boson measurements at HLLHC. Before I move on, let us recap what we have done at run 2. So the Higgs boson properties, whatever we measured at run 2, are in agreement with standard model expectations. Boson couplings were observed in run 1, third generation fermion couplings were observed in run 2. And the current precision on these couplings is in 10 to 30%, so per single experiment. And the second generation fermionic coupling still to be established. So of course, we have seen the first evidence of Higgs to mu mu at CMS. It was presented at ICHEP last year, 2020. And so far, Higgs to CC studies were not included in HLLHC or HELHC projections. So if we kind of look at like these are the results from, of course, like not from the entire run-to, like these are slightly older slides. So this is from 2016 data only. So you can get to see the signal strength, which was explained by Biplab already in his talk. So this is like what we expect from various decay modes or various production modes, and also the decay modes of Higgs. So it's close to what we get from the standard model. So that's from the CMS, and that's what you get to see from ATLAS also. So this is again looking at the fermion, the KV, and this is the fermionic coupling and the bosonic coupling. So what we expect from CMS, like the best fit and the SM expected, like lie within the 1 sigma region. So similarly for the ATLAS. And since this was like the first evidence, it's the rarest decay mode, which was first time got first indications from CMS. So there was a press release, and there were like beautiful events of this decay, Higgs to mu mu in various decay modes, various production modes in this decay mode of mu mu. And yeah, so CMS observes 3 sigma at 125 GeV for Higgs to mu mu over here, and also like here when we plot the particle mass as versus the Higgs coupling. So the mu is provided here. This is basically a recap from run 2. So coming to the projections, so there were like some procedures followed for projecting the analysis for HLLHC, because in certain cases the analysis was done from scratch, and in certain cases like the run to things were like the expectations from run to are taken, and then like there were some uncertainties which were scaled up or down depending on the scenario and used. So when the analysis were done from scratch, so they were performed using the simulated samples produced with the HLLHC conditions using the upgraded detectors. So this is the case for new and really significantly improved analysis, but in other cases, it's basically like what we have in run 2, that's what was used to do the projections. So basically extrapolations were done from run 2 analysis. So this is the case like when we had the extrapolations. So for when we had already the performed analysis in run 2, so the efficiencies, resolutions, and fake rates are assumed to be same as run 2, and no change for projection studies. Only thing is like the systematic uncertainties, how they are accounted for, are slightly different. So main scenario, which was used in the error report for the systematic uncertainties, like we call it as S2. So most theoretical uncertainties are scaled down by a factor of half, and experimental uncertainties are scaled down by square root of L, the L being the integrated luminosity. And just for the sake of comparison, so there was one more scenario used. So we have used, this is called the scenario S1. So this is S2, where the theoretical uncertainties are scaled by half, and experimental uncertainties are scaled down by square root of L. And for comparison, there is one more scenario S1, so where the same systematic uncertainties as run 2 were used. In all cases, we have neglected the uncertainties which come from the finite number of simulated event. And a reminder, like you can look at all the details from this arXiv report. So let's look at the combined Higgs coupling measurements. So here so here the projections of combined measurements for the Higgs coupling are for ATLAS, they have used 2015 to 2017 data, and for CMS, so only 2016 data was used, because like let me remind you, the projections, the workshop took place between 2017 and 18. So yeah, so we had 2016 results, so, and ATLAS used 2015 to 2017 results to do the projections. And projections cover all the main production Higgs modes, like gluon fusion, VBF, VH, DTH, and also all decay modes to gamma, gamma, ZZ, WW, BB, tau, tau, mu, mu, Z nu. And a couple of examples are provided here. Of course, like here we are looking at scenario 2. So this is to Higgs to gamma, gamma. and all the protection modes are looked at in this Higgs 2 gamma gamma, and that's what we get to see. And for Higgs 2 tau tau, there are a couple of protection modes are looked at, VBF and GGF, and that's the standard model expectation. So the red line. And then for VH, X to BB, so the combined, like there were different categories, 0 lepton, 1 lepton, 2 lepton category was looked at, and then you can get to see that, yeah. So with various constraints, like around 2 statistics, like a S1 only, so you can see that just for example, in the combined state, combined result. So here with only run 2 uncertainties, of course, like you see that like it's a huge uncertainty on the result, and only using S2, so you reduce the uncertainty, and only with statistical uncertainty you get to see the contribution, which is in the blue line. And apart from measuring the cross-section, or cross-section times basically the signal strength, sigma cross V divided with respect to the expectation from theory. So we also measure the, in the S2 scenario, the projection cross-sections, also the branching ratios are also projected. So here you can get to see that, like, okay, the red line is what we get from the theory, the contribution coming from the theory, and the gray box is the tells us the total uncertainty, and then the blue line tells us the statistical uncertainty, and then the green line from the experimental. So in majority of the cases, what you can get to see is like the uncertainty coming from the theory is still the dominant one. Same goes for the branching fractions. So here also the red curve is a dominant one. Of course, like Z to gamma, you have the statistical issue, and mu mu also has the statistical uncertainty dominates. So yeah, so as I told, cross sections and branching ratios are dominated by the theoretical uncertainties, and the branching ratios B mu mu and Z gamma gamma are statistically limited. And coming to the kappa framework, basically we measure the coupling strengths. So we have a framework called a coupling modifier, or a kappa framework. So for any given production or decay mode, so what is done is like the kj square is basically sigma j with respect to the standard model prediction, or you measure the decay with respect to the standard model predictions. So projections are made for a parameterization based on this coupling modifier. So lambda ij is basically kappa j by kappa I by kappa j. So the reference was used was basically kappa gamma gluon z. So this gives us kappa g kappa z by kappa h. So if we look at like how well we can measure the various couplings of these bosons and fermions with respect to the standard model prediction. So even here you can get to see that like the red line, like KB, KT, KG over here. So the theoretical uncertainty is the dominant one, and then like even for the K tau, but like here K mu and Z gamma are limited by the statistical one. And here ratio of coupling modifiers, the lambdas are also like you get to see that the theoretical one is a dominant one, and then these two are the statistically dominated ones. And then now changing the gear and like having the same measurement projections at HELHC. So even for HELHC, 2 scenarios are assumed for theoretical and modeling the systematic uncertainties on signal and backgrounds. So first thing is S2, which is same as the baseline scenario, which we have used for HLLHC. And second scenario is S2 prime. So where theoretical and uncertainties as well as the modeling of the systematic uncertainties are halved. And this scenario would correspond to like uncertainties like roughly 4 times smaller than what we have at run 2. So yeah, so here if you get to see the couplings K gamma to kappa gamma to Z gamma. So like S2 scenario gives these values, and S2 prime, basically the improvised version, gives better constraints on that. And here, note that HLLC measurements, whose precision is limited by the systematic uncertainties, would also improve if we move on to this S2 prime scenario. And apart from the coupling modifiers and the lambda parameters, what we can also measure or project for at HLLHC is the width of Higgs. So here the comparison on like this Higgs 2 CZ2 4L mode was used, and here the comparison of on and off shell rates were used to constrain the Higgs boson width. Current constraint as of now, this is still an old value. So this is like width is 14.4 MeV and 9.2 from CMS. So the CMS projection, what it gives is like 4 MeV, and Atlas projection also gives 4 MeV constraints. So Atlas projection of okay, so Atlas projection is based on run-one analysis, and there are like large, and also it contains large theoretical uncertainties compared to the CMS projection. So that's why like you can get to see that like the uncertainties are like lower in CMS case and then higher in the Atlas case. So assuming the same sensitivity for Atlas and CMS analysis, combined constraint, what we can get is like 4 MeV with these uncertainties. So this is based on the Atlas simulation, and this is based on the CMS projection. Again, even here, three studies were done. 3 curves you can get to see.
Just now you have 5 minutes left.
Yeah, I'm almost close to finishing. Yeah. So looking at the Higgs summary at HLLHC, so okay, so precision level of most Higgs coupling could be reached at, and width is measurable within 1 MeV, and okay, so KMU can be precisely measured with a 2% reach at HELHC. So yeah, so let's look at like in the next few minutes Higgs boson pair production prospects at HLLHC. So okay, so the Higgs boson pair production, the non-resonant production gives like it has 0.1% cross section compared to the single Higgs, but this gives a handle of measuring the Higgs boson self coupling. And there are like, since there are 2 Higgs decays, so like we have if you look at the decay modes, basically like you have to have a trade-off between the branching fraction and the purity here, and also to still keep certain things in basically purity high. So here, okay, probably I can just skip this. So here for the projection studies, basically for since this LO report had to be kept in place, so the cross sections were calculated at 14 TeV as well as for HLLHC, and also the K factor were also derived. I'll just skip this, and also BSM model for the nonlinear EFT. There were like various benchmark scenarios were also used. So yeah, as I told, depending on the Higgs decay modes, we have various final state to look at: 4B, BB tau tau, BB gamma gamma, BB BB, and BB ZZ. So yeah, so here you can look at the expected standard model di-Higgs events at 3 at HLLHC. And here again, like there were certain assumptions are made for doing the projections to obtain the projection, and the assumptions around the systematic uncertainties are provided over here. Yeah, So the general analysis strategy for doing this HS studies, like the candidate was constrained with the standard model Higgs boson, and as is the case with run 2, so even in the projections, so the multivariate methods are used to reject the background and use the MHHS wherever possible. So for a few examples which you can look at, so here BDT was used for di-Higgs-2,4b final state. Here again, the BDT in Atlas was used for HHBB tau. So, and yeah, so neural network was used here. So you can look at the M gamma gamma distribution from HHBB gamma gamma final state. So it's like a nicely peaked at 125 GeV. Of course, like this is still the simulation, but you can still see that the simulated samples were nicely produced such that like you can get to see the peak nicely. And here it's for HH2BB4L, BBZC, and it's a mass of the 4-lepton final state. Of course, like there are still some systematics with large unknowns, so there is still some scope to improvise on it. But like what we had at that moment between 2016, 17 and 18, sorry, when the workshop was held, so those were used to come up with the projected ones. So what you can get to see as the prospects is like expected significance with and without systematics is shown here, Atlas CMS. Both for Atlas and CMS. So what you can get to see is like if you combine both Atlas and CMS, so we'll be able to see 4.5, 4 sigma is expected with statistical only, and combined we get 4 sigma expected with Atlas and CMS. So we'll get to see at least the first evidence from the HLLHC. And similarly, okay, so if you look at the kappa lambda, so you can constrain the kappa lambda from 0.1 to 2.3 with a 4 sigma significance, and this is like a channel by channel comparison for Atlas and CMS. And okay, probably I can just skip this. Like there are also some alternative methods. Here it's basically the combination of all the final decay modes which were used to arrive at a 4 sigma expected significance. But one can also like improvise the analysis like BBWW with certain methods in order to arrive at like 3 sigma or like even close to 4 sigma. Not 4 sigma, but like at least increase the significance compared to what was used in the projection. So like I'll probably skip that. And if we look at the kappa lambda, okay, kappa lambda combination is over here with for 95% confidence level, we are constraining it from 0.1 to 2.3. And if we go for HE-LHC, so with 27 TeV and the 15 atom inverse, so what we get to achieve is this curve. So we'll be able to constrain kappa lambda much more nicer with HE-LHC. And also, like you can also use indirect probe via single Higgs to constrain kappa lambda. So due to lack of time, I'll skip this. The summary, if I look at kappa lambda from both HLLHC and HE-LHC, so these are like various decay modes which were which had given the projections, and then the combination, like we basically will be able to constrain from yeah. So the gray line basically says 95% confidence levels from 0.1 to 2.3, and apart from the this is from HLLHC, and there are like also methods to do the indirect probe, so that will also give some constraint. And then the combination will be able to even like combining the direct and indirect ones, so we'll be able to constrain it a bit more. And then at HE-LHC, it will be a bit more constrained. Sorry, this combination is for basically global fit and exclusive fit coming from HE-LHC. So at HE-LHC, so okay, so combination coming from HLLHC constrains the kappa lambda to this space, and then combination coming from HE-LHC will constrain it a bit more. And for comparison, let me just like look at like BB gamma gamma. What we got from projection is from -0.2 3.3, And what we see with run2 data for both CMS and Atlas is the observed is like between minus 3.3 and 8.5 and minus 1.5 and 6.7. So even though like these projections took so many assumptions into place, like this is minus 0.3 to 3.33, compare that with what we got from run2 with the limited data, like which it is like 140 inverse femtobarns of data. So like the projections look really reasonable to deal with. And also what I can get to say is probably will achieve even much more than what the projection study says. And with that, like let me come to the summary. So HLLHC opens up new possibilities in terms of access to and at unobserved couplings, and also precise measurement of coupling width and mass, and also Higgs self-coupling. Projection of Higgs properties for single and di-Higgs are also looked at in this talk, like very briefly for HELHC. And there is still a lot of scope for further improvement because like there are like each projection has to be taken with a pinch of salt because like a lot of assumptions are went in. So I just listed some of the scope for further improvement. And with that, like I would like to end my talk, and thanks for your attention.
Thanks, Jyotsna. So maybe we can have 1-2 quick questions.
Yeah.
So, hi, Jyotsna. Am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is Pradipta. So I just have a quick question. Could you please comment on this flavor violating Higgs decays? I mean, the allowed branching fractions, and so because as of now, the H2 mu2 is rather unconstrained, but what are the future prospects, especially with the high luminosity LHC?
So you're asking about, sorry.
Yeah, the flavor violating Higgs decays.
Yeah, flavor violation Higgs decay. So yeah, I haven't looked at their production. I'm not sure projection. I'm not sure whether they have included it in this. And I'm not sure whether Sejan segment, like who is also going to cover some of the prospects in tomorrow's. Because like she covered BSM and
CMS and Atlas, they were like, I mean, the allowed room was reasonably large. It was not very tiny. Okay, thank you.
Any further questions? So actually I had one, Jyotsna. So I was wondering what are the prospects at HL as well as HE of looking at hadronic Higgs decays. So Higgs decaying to hadrons like epsilon or J psi, and then maybe gamma. This kind of decays, what are the prospects?
So yeah, so the rare decays, yeah. Yeah, so in the 384 pages, like I guess like there was also this J-psi decay which you're referring to. It was looked at, but like yeah, unfortunately, offhand I do not recall.
Okay. So if there are no further questions, let's take a short tea break, and we will meet again after the tea break.
Thank you, Rahul. So